Hello and welcome to another Mr. Smith History. This particular video is looking at the Reichstag Fire. The Reichstag, of course, was the main government building where politicians met in Germany. And on February the 27th, 1933, the Reichstag burns down in mysterious circumstances. Now, the Nazis and Hitler were in power at this time, and they were using every opportunity, both legal and illegal, to try and get rid of opposition and to increase their power and ultimately lead to Hitler's dictatorship. And the Reichstag fire was a perfect opportunity for Hitler. So a lone communist called Marius van der Lubbe was found at the scene of the crime and was eventually executed for starting the fire. And this was a perfect opportunity for Hitler and the Nazi parties to point the finger of blame at the Nazi party, to accuse, the Communist Party, to accuse them of a communist conspiracy against the government, and this led to thousands of communists being arrested. Hitler was able to use the fire to convince Hindenburg to invoke Article 48 in the German Constitution. This was a law where a decree was put in place called the Protection of the People and the State, and this gave Hitler some certain powers. So Article 48 allowed Hitler to expel communists from parliament, and it also allowed him to imprison communist leaders without any charge. He was also, because the Nazis were so anti-communist and very vocal about their anti-communism, and as such people felt the country was in danger from communists, this encouraged many people to vote for the Nazis in the up and coming election because they felt they were going to be the strongest candidate to deal with this communist problem. And so Hitler persuaded Hindenburg to call an election, and that was called for March 1933, and as such the Nazis managed to secure more seats. They managed to secure 2/3 of the seats by using these emergency powers to prevent communists from taking up their 81 seats in Parliament. So Hitler then saw his opportunity. He was using the chaos that was caused by the Reichstag fire and the chaos that the Nazis have added to with the communist threat, and he proposed introducing a new law called the Enabling Act in 1933, which would in effect give power to the Nazis and destroy the power of the Reichstag. So the Enabling Act then, what did this mean? Well, it meant that the Reich cabinet could pass new laws. It meant that laws could overrule the constitution that had been put in place by the Weimar, and that Hitler could propose new laws. Effectively, it was an end to democracy. The Enabling Act would give full power to the Nazis and end the democracy that had been put in place following the creation of the Weimar Republic. However, the Nazis needed to win the votes to do it. They had to be voted in. This had to be voted for by the Reichstag. Now, many of the communists obviously could not vote because they were not allowed access, and so were other left-wing parties. And ultimately, the Nazis won by 444 votes to 94. This, in some way, would have been helped by the intimidation and the threats by the brown shirts who were waiting for people as they turned up to vote. So although officially done by legal means, it was a very underhand victory by the Nazis, but ultimately it gave full power to Hitler. Now, there are theories about the Reichstag fire that perhaps the Nazis were involved in it because they knew an event like that could bolster their control and help give them power and help point the finger and blames other groups, for example, in this case the communists. And Hermann Göring is reported to have said, as a party while drunk, the only one who really knows about the Reichstag building is I, for I set fire to it. So there are theories that in fact that the building wasn't set fire to by communists, and in fact that it was set fire to by the Nazis themselves, and it probably is a likely turn of events, but we will never know. So what are the effects of the Enabling Act then that were put in place by Hitler following the fire? Local government was closed in March 1933. Trade unions are replaced, trade unions are gone, and we get something called the German Labour Front, which was essentially a Nazi-controlled trade union, largely useless, and trade union leaders, many of them were arrested, and other political parties were outlawed. Their funds were taken by the Nazis, and by July 1933 all other political parties were banned, and we essentially start to have a one-party state in Germany. So that kind of brings us to the end of that short video on the Reichstag fire and the Enabling Act. If you want to continue watching these videos, there's plenty more on my channel, and there'll be a new one coming out soon on what is it on? Propaganda and censorship. Thank you. Bye.